start giving reviews on books that potentially your second or third grader might be interested in reading. So here's a book called The Bad Guys by Aaron Blabey. And from my time in a third grade classroom, I've started to really discern what makes for a great third grade reader. Now, on the surface, when you see a book like this, you think, okay, well, it has the illusion that it's a chapter book, right? And so psychologically you think, oh, my kid is reading chapter books, until you go inside this book, okay? And so when you go inside the book, you see that it's actually more of a graphic novel. But I also wanted you to take a look at how many of these pages have maybe 20 words at the most. And so if, for example, and this would probably be something you'd find like at a bookstore, obviously, or like at the Scholastic Book Fair at your school, and you would think, oh great, my kid is reading. Like I used to say things like this, well, as long as your kid is reading, that's fine. It just can't be the whole diet. It can be a snack, but it can't be the whole of what they're reading, because that is not preparing them for what they're about to see in third grade and beyond, okay? So I just wanted to share a couple of things that I wrote as I initially got into this book, and then of course I read the book, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. Okay, so first of all, I've mentioned, looks like a chapter book, has too many graphics, however, too few words on the page. But I will say another thing that might draw you in is on the back page. It tells you, and there may be more than this right as of this date, it tells you it has 10 books in the series, which then means, okay, I can make a decision about reading for my child. It's a chapter book and it's a series, so at least for a couple weeks, I've got it covered. They'll just read these books and I'll feel really good about myself. Again, these are things that on the surface seem like they're okay, but as you get into third grade, you will find that this type of reading is not helping your child. And as a matter of fact, many people say that the reason why children start to hate school, I mean literally hate it, is because the level of reading that they're being asked to do at third grade and beyond is not matching what we're having them read in their free time or during their 20 minutes of reading homework or anything like that. So let me give an example. If you see this and you think this is a chapter book, you'll say, okay, go ahead and read a chapter. And they say very happily, oh, I read the whole book. And you think, how in the world is that possible? So I actually went in and I counted the words in chapter 1. There are 200 words in chapter 1. Now, if you know anything about reading fluency, they have something that they call a CBM score. It has to do with how many words per minute a child can read. Most children, by the time they're into third grade pretty well, they're probably reading anywhere between, even on a low level, about 60 words to 120 words in a minute, okay? And so when your child says that he or she has read chapter 1, he or she has read 200 words. But they've told you that they've read a chapter, right? And so again, it's one of those things where I think many times, and again, I'm guilty of this as a parent, you look at something like this and you're saying the right things, you're asking the right questions, you're actually maybe even feeling like you're making the right demands on the reading time, but unless you go in and actually see what is happening within a book, you really are missing something, and then you feel frustrated, confused with your school teacher, hello, because she's trying to tell you something and you really can't get your head around why she is saying these things to you, okay? So another thing that I wanted to mention is, what are the lessons learned in this book, okay? Now, again, it's light reading, so on the surface, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but the lessons learned here are supposed to be learned are don't judge a book by its cover. That's a very nice lesson to learn. The other one is serve humanity by helping people. Okay? So again, if you read a synopsis of this book, and again, I haven't read the synopsis, this is just for me reading the book, and you heard those things, you're like, oh my goodness, these are great things for my kids to be learning, right? And they are, okay? But if you were to look a little more deeply in this book where it says what it means serving humanity, one of the ways they're serving humanity is they are going to go to a pound and they are going to break the dogs out of the dog pound to give them their freedom. Okay. Again, it's a story. It's a fun story, right? It's not necessarily to be taken seriously. But at the same time, and again, this goes back to understanding why this is so important. Does your child know what a dog pound is? Because if your child doesn't know what a dog pound is, this is just a story that they're reading, and this again is something you've got to pay attention to as parents. And they can say the word dog pound, say those words, but they don't know what it means. So they're literally reading about a concept that, unless, are we having conversations about dog pounds in a normal setting? You're probably not. Maybe you've rescued a dog, so maybe your kid might have a leg up in that way. But when we look back at, again, why we have such an issue with literacy, this is what we're talking about. So again, going back to looking in the book and having a concept like that given to your child, and your child may not necessarily come to you and say, what's a dog pound, right? I'll talk about more what we used to say back in the day, which is go look it up in the dictionary. I'm going to do a whole series on dictionaries because many children wouldn't even know how to look that up in a dictionary. And again, it's something where if you were, I think even the generation in front of me, so you're in your 20s and your 30s, you still have the concept of dictionary, maybe even have the concept of things like dog pounds. But if you've not exposed it to your kids and they haven't watched something that has told them what it is, they don't know what it is, right? And so they're continuing to accumulate all these words that they literally have no idea what they mean. So again, these are just simple things that on the surface, and not every book's going to be this easy to kind of pull out what the issue is. And I'm hoping to be able to introduce you to series and books where this is not the issue, and you can easily, give these to your child. But again, I would have to say, again, back in the day, you wouldn't just hand your child a book. You would look at it, because again, there's just words that are floating around through here, which again, you're going to be deceived by these pictures that you're going to think your kid knows all the words in the book. But things like impersonating and attempting and approach. Again, with a book like this, to redeem the book, what I would probably do is I would put it hand in hand with working with a dictionary. There's something called the chicken swallower, okay? Do you know what a swallower is, right? Piranha is in here, which again, if they haven't been introduced how to decode that word, they're going to be saying that word over and over again throughout this book, and they won't know what it means. And even the picture might not give them much of a clue, because again, it's cartoon drawn, so it's not giving you a realistic view of what these animals are. So you're getting a picture of it that you may or may not understand, right? And then here's the best part of all. Throughout the book, they're giving you Spanish words. Now again, if your child has not been exposed to Spanish words, they're going to be A, saying the words incorrectly, and B, not even knowing what it means. Because the context clues, again, if your child is not used to looking for the context clues, it won't give them the information they need to figure out what those words mean. Okay, so give me your thoughts. Is there a book that you would like me to look at and break down the good, the bad about the book, and how to make it a part of the reading structure of your child, let me know.